going on, everybody? Happy Monday. Happy Memorial Day for all the Americans as well, too. I found that out the hard way because I had meetings set up this morning, and I slowly but surely, one by one, got an email saying, "Hey, we forgot it was a holiday today."
Yeah, that's how
And
that's how you get rudely awakened.
my
To
day all of a sudden just got super wide open until tomorrow.
Yeah, I know. Everybody's day is wide open. Everybody's out and about enjoying the. I mean, it's nice here, so I mean
Yeah.
that's a positive. And living by the Jersey Shore, I already know that there's so many people down at the
Beautiful.
beach, and I have no intentions of getting anywhere near it because
Nope.
I'm not that type of person. I'm more of
Nope.
a pool guy anyway, to be
Pool
honest.
guy or lake guy?
Ooh.
I'm a lake guy now.
Well, the problem for me is that I haven't been to too many like lake experiences, so I can't say that I'm a lake guy, but I feel like I would if I did it more often because I'm not really near a lot of like big lakes where people go swimming. A lot of them are
Sure.
up in like North Jersey, like usually an hour plus away from me.
Yeah.
So I would say pool still, but I'm not against. I think going
Yeah.
on a lake is even more fun.
If you get a chance, like state parks, we call it provincial parks because provincial
Yeah.
Ontario, but like state parks, camping, oh, I have a newfound appreciation and love for it. I
I
really
actually
do.
think I'm going camping at some point later this summer with a few of my friends. So that
Nice.
hopefully there's a lake by there, which would
You
be
got, and the best is to just go somewhere with great reviews, but also that's kind of like in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, because then
You know
you're
what I
kind of
mean?
like away from everything for sure. Yeah,
It's
100%.
just such a good vibe, and then you get like every station has its own like little fire pit
Hmm.
too. You get
Yeah,
fire. Oh, it's just that's
wonderful.
why I can't wait for this summer.
I
It's gonna
actually
be great.
have one that I have I don't know what they say, like a mobile like fire pit. Like I can just like build it,
Oh,
put it together, and
oh,
then I
okay.
could just take it up to other places. I don't know if
Interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. I didn't think those things were in existence, but I
I brought
guess
I brought it up where I was like, I want one of those like table fireplaces, and my buddy's like,
mm,
no, like you don't get the same sensation as you would
right,
from a normal fire,
sure. Yeah,
right?
100%.
You get the wood burning and all that.
100%. But
Well, Neil said we look like absolute buffoons from last Monday. We look like pretty stupid people from the
no,
one side of the
I mean, at least
conference.
in one of the series, it's still possible.
It is. It
Look,
is.
it's
Yeah.
still possible in both, but one of them seems very unlikely.
Yeah. What
Can
do
we
you want to
start?
start with
Can we
today?
start with Dallas and Edmonton first?
Sure,
Let's
we can
just,
do that.
it's been a little close.
Let's start with that. So yeah, so really ever since last Monday, game 1 just basically gets taken away from Edmonton after being up 3-1 going into that third period. Dallas just all of a sudden scores 5 in a row, smell you later. Then
Three
really since
consecutive power play goals as well. It
and
really,
really since that point on, it's been all Edmonton.
wow.
They shut out Dallas in game 2. Frankly, they beat the brakes off them yesterday. And
No
they said it
question.
going into the first intermission. Like Kelly Rudy on Sportsnet literally said, he's like, "Where's the emotion from the Stars right now? Like
Yeah.
nobody feels like they're really pushing back almost, and it's just Edmonton being able to create and generate their own chances and within their own game. So it's been a sensational 3 games despite losing game 1 for Edmonton. You minus out 1 period. Edmonton's just had total control of this series, and yet we go into a game 4 tomorrow night where the narrative can be flipped if Dallas can just find a way to get back home ice advantage. But it
Yeah.
feels like a must-win game tomorrow for the Stars.
Without question. I think if you lose game 4, I think you're pretty much done. Because regardless of who you're playing and what the situation is, and obviously you do have home ice, it just is very hard for teams to come back from down 3-1, especially at this stage of the playoffs,
Right.
because teams are so dialed in at this point. And if one team is on a roll, it's very hard for them to get out of it. And once again, we were not super confident about the goaltending for Edmonton going into the series. And Stuart Skinner, to his credit, has played really well of late. And I thought he was going to get a shutout yesterday. Obviously, he
Me
didn't,
too.
but nonetheless, very good. And again, when you get this Stuart Skinner, this is why Edmonton made the finals last year and why they're 2 wins away from doing it again. Because when Stuart Skinner is on, he's very, very good and he can really track the puck well. He's a big body guy that can take up a lot of the net. Very, very good. But when he gives up maybe a soft one here or there, that can throw everything off. And I think that's the thing is Dallas hasn't started on time in
Yeah.
any of the 3 games. Even game number 1, they didn't start off on time. They have to get going right away. Pepper Stuart Skinner, get a goal past him, and get that momentum. Because the only way that Dallas even won game 1 was because they finally started peppering Stuart Skinner, and that eventually led to it, and they overwhelmed Edmonton. And also being at home certainly helped.
Of course.
Nonetheless, what I'm seeing right now is a Dallas team that is not stepping up right away and answering the bell the second the puck drops to start the game. And I don't care if you're on the road or not. You have to be ready to go right away. And if they keep this up, this is going to be a short series, and it will be over before the end of this week.
It feels like that's what dictates a lot of playoff games is if you don't get off to a fast start, then you're setting yourself up for failure for the rest of the way. How many times do we watch the Flames this year where crap, another slow start for them and they're behind 3-0 already? Yep. And it's like, well, that's it, right? Like, not to say that happens to the only team, but sure. On a team where they don't have a lot of goal scoring, it's a different story. But I mean, same thing here for Dallas is that you're not getting your key contributors now who there's a plethora of them, right? With Rantanen, with Robertson, with Wyatt Johnson, and the list goes on and on. Granlund, who's still hanging around there. Like, at some point, you're right. I think I actually absolutely agree with that. Like, game 4, Dallas needs to start on time. If they don't, and we saw the way that first period went in game 3 where Edmonton goes up 2-0.
Yeah.
They're in trouble, man. Like, it could be a very short series. That's why it's funny because I had Dallas in 6 games, but I'm starting to think like it's going the way that I feel like last year's conference final went when Edmonton won in 6.
I wonder if the last couple of games for Dallas, if it's a mental thing, because, you kind of built yourself up to get to this point of getting back to the conference finals and giving yourself a chance. And this is probably the best Stars team we've seen in the last couple of years since they really started getting good again. And I think they were building this team to be ready to face Edmonton. Honestly, I think that was I believe, I don't want to say this is their Stanley Cup, but I believe that there is a level of wanting to exact revenge. Now, look, the Stars can come out tomorrow and dominate and win game 4, and it's 2-2 and things are fine.
Different. Yeah.
But if they lose game 4 and you go home down 3-1, even if you win game number 5, I don't see you finding a way to get back to game 7 unless you start on time. Now, one question I want to ask you, Kyle, and I'll give my answer after you have, as a rebuttal. When you look at that situation where a team starts off slow, doesn't come out right off the gate, do you consider that, in your opinion, to be more of a coaching problem or a player problem?
I'm leaning towards the players, right?
Okay.
Because the coaches can they can have them, they can set them up for success in any playoff game, right? Whether you have last change or not, you can strategize the way you want to. At the end of the day, for me, it is the players that have to move their feet, right? They have to find a way to get moving here. I don't put a lot of, I think Peter DeBoer is going to get a lot of blame if they falter here again. And I don't think it's necessarily the right way to look at it because he's a good coach. I think he's a good coach in my mind. Like, you're back here again in the conference finals for the second year in a row. Like, you're clearly doing something right.
He's been to the conference finals numerous times. He's also been to the Stanley Cup finals twice.
Right. So, but also, like, you get shelled in game 2, right? You get shut out, frankly. And for the first, 2 periods, they finally get on the board there. But the guys just haven't really been producing offensively. And frankly, I don't think Skinner has been doing a lot. So sorry, back to your question.
Yeah.
I do think it's the players at the end of the day that need to, they have the final say. Because you can prep and coach them all you want.
Sure.
But the players got to get moving.
Now, see, I'll disagree with you in the sense of I think it's more of a
Okay.
coaching thing because I think that there are coaches that have systems and strategies in place that get these guys ready to go right away. And
Sure.
I think that it starts in the locker room of getting the players' mindset to be we need to jump on them right away. We need to get going right away. We need to push. And I understand it completely from the players' perspective. They're the ones that physically have to go out there and actually start off strong. But I think it starts in the locker room. I think it starts in practice. I think you have to build that repetition where even in practice, guys got to come out and do well right away. Now I understand that like not every practice and not every game is going to be exactly the way you want it to be.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I'm having a problem here because as somebody who watched Pete DeBoer coach the team that I cover for a couple of years over a decade ago, I'm seeing the same type of problems. I saw the same problems in San Jose. I saw the same problems in Vegas. Pete DeBoer's teams do not get off to fast starts. They
Right.
just don't. They've never been that way. They usually kind of give it the first 10, 15 minutes
Methodically make their way through.
methodically. And that to me is not conducive towards winning in the playoffs. Now, yes, Pete DeBoer has had a lot of success in his career. Hasn't won a cup, but has been, as I just mentioned, been to the finals twice. No doubt about that. But I'm just saying that I think it has to start with him being the leader. And then it's got to be the guys on that bench and on the ice taking that message and then putting it into action. So that's the way I look at it. I think Pete DeBoer's got to go into the locker room for game 4 and say, look, guys, we're in hostile territory right now. We are down 2-1 in this series. We should be playing a lot better than what we've been playing. We've been able to win on the road, and we need to come out of the gates guns blazing. We need to take how we finished game number 3, and implement that into game number 4. Come out strong, come out pushing, and immediately throw their game right back at you. Because if you let them get going right away, feed off that crowd, use that speed, we are going to be behind the 8 ball for the next
Again.
60 minutes. That's the way that I would look at it, and that's what I would hope to see from Dallas going into game 4.
Dallas on the road the last few games has been terrible. So I'm going to date this all the way back to game 3. Game 2. Game 2 of the Winnipeg Jets series, right? Game 2 they lose 4-0. They go home, they handle their business. Game 5 they lose 4-0 on the road. Yesterday they lose 6-1. So 14-1 in their last 3 games, they've been outscored on the road. So I think, yes, there is some truth to you saying that they can't get off to a fast start. That's fair. Maybe it's also the possibility they're just really bad on the road, right? If you look back, they take game 1 against Winnipeg, albeit being very close. They let 7 goals in game 6 in Colorado, right? And then in games 3 and 4, in game 4 against Colorado, they lost 4-0 and they managed to win a very low scoring OT game. They ended up winning 2-1, which in fairness, Ottinger saved them there. So there's a lot of cases here where you look back for Dallas on the road here at Colorado in game 6, at the Jets in game 2, at the Jets in game 5, at the Oilers here in game 3, where and I'll say it again. 4-0, 4-0, 4-0, 6-1. They've been dominated. They've been just shelled on the road.
Yeah, it's
it's a major concern.
It is a major concern. And it goes back to thinking, if they had lost game 6 to Winnipeg at home, I don't know if they would be in this position right now playing Edmonton.
I do because they play well at home. They're a good home team.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But remember, it was 1-0 for the longest time. Was, Winnipeg struck first. And if they had if Dallas had lost game 6 at home, I don't see them winning game 7 in Winnipeg. Going off of that trend there.
And the way that the series has been going, if Edmonton had home ice, I don't think it would surprise me if Edmonton would be up 3-0 in this series.
I think they should be up 3-0 regardless of that because of the way that they the first 2 periods, Edmonton came ready to play right away. They didn't finish well, but
Sure.
you know what? Look at the last 2 games. They've corrected that. Not only did they start off well, they kept pushing. They didn't stop. They didn't just be like, all right, we have a 2 or 3 goal lead. We're fine now. Like, no, because they
Right.
understand how deep that Stars team is when they're on.
And like, so Skinner ends up saving 33 of 34 shots on net. I don't even think he's outside. I'll give him game 2. I'll give him game 2 when they shut them out there, right?
Mhm.
Outside of game 2, where frankly I don't think he really had to do a lot. I don't think Skinner's had to be a world beater.
I look at the way game 3 progressed, and I think once the Oilers got a pretty sizable lead is when I think their defense started lacking, and
Sure.
that's why he ended up with 33 saves. Is like, did they go 100% at that? Probably not, because
No.
again, they're all humans, and it's a mental thing. It's like, oh, when you're up by 3 or 4 goals, oh, okay, you can take off a shift because it may not really matter. So I think for that moment, it was Skinner having to, make a bunch of saves that probably he didn't,
And
in a different
and I mean,
situation.
and also don't forget, like it was a 2-1 game before McDavid scored with what 20 seconds left in the second. Could have been a different story
That was the
going into the third
backbreaker, in
period.
my
That
opinion.
was the
That
ultimate
goal was the
backbreaker.
backbreaker because at that point it was, Dallas had just gotten a goal, and you felt like the momentum was kind of tilting towards Dallas. But then McDavid with that incredible move. I mean, I say incredible because like it's nothing to him,
Yeah.
and he just buries it, and like you could just feel it on the bench. You could see it on the bench that Dallas felt like that was kind of a gut punch kind of move. It was like, eh. And
Shit. Yeah.
I'm not I'm not really that impressed with Jake Ottinger in this series, to be quite honest with you. I think
And that's part of the reason why Dallas has been in a lot of these games on the road when they get into tight, low-scoring games. It's because
yeah,
Ottinger's been on the ball, right? And
it's
also, last stat I want to throw at you before
yeah,
you have the final word
sure.
is the Stars in all 3 games in this series, every single time they've gone into the third period, they've been down by 2 goals.
There you go.
like,
I,
like
and
that's
that goes
not going
back
to
to what
help, man.
that's what we go back to what we were originally talking about a few minutes ago is about they're not coming out of the gates and being aggressive. They're waiting till like the third period to be like, oh, you know what? Like, I think it's time
We
to like
got to
wake
get
up now.
going.
And then it's like
Yeah.
you're done. You're already done because this is not the regular season. Okay. This is not where like this could happen more often than not.
Yeah.
You're in the playoffs. Everything tightens up. Regardless of who you're playing, everything tightens up. It's harder to get shots on net. It's harder to find those openings. It's harder at times for a goaltender to make a mistake, a brutal mistake. And I just think that the Stars are not responding well to the immediate pressure that they are facing because the Oilers are not coming out and just playing a game of chess here and just kind of waiting for something to happen. They're coming out and they're saying, we're going to take this game. We're not going to let it come to us. No, we're going to go and take it. And Edmonton, as we've seen, has been very dominant at home throughout the majority of these playoffs. And Dallas has to find a way to get game 4 because if they don't, I don't see them
This
winning
series is
this
probably
series, and I
over.
see this being over. Maybe not in 5. Maybe Dallas gets a game back, but we end up still with 6 games, except it's Edmonton and not Dallas.
Yeah. And last thing, I think and this isn't a knock on the Oilers at all, but I think it does say and speak volumes of the road that Dallas has taken so far, dealing with Colorado in round 1, going 7 games in a team in which Colorado could very easily be in this situation too. The Jets have to go through so many hurdles, right? Injuries, what happened with Scheifele, obviously unexpected, but
They were getting close to having as many injuries as the Devils were in the first round.
right.
It was
Like,
getting that bad.
how long ago was it when the Oilers could have been down 3-0 to the LA Kings?
Mm-hmm.
And everything fell apart for LA and they couldn't get it going. In Vegas, for the majority of that series, for almost all of the series, they couldn't get anything going. They couldn't get any offense going. And that's been the biggest thing for Edmonton and their success so far. As much as it is offensively, I think you have to give credit to their defense because when they came back against LA in that series, they shut them down offensively. They made Vegas look stupid offensively. They did nothing. And so far against Dallas, you're seeing it so far. Yes, it is offensively, but look at the goals that they're letting in here. They've let in minus game 1. Okay, you got shelled in the third period. Like, you want to throw that in the trash, or if you want to consider that, it's up to you. But minus the third period, of that first game, right? You go to game 2, you shut them out, and then you allow 1 goal here again. So I think defensively, it's gotten much, much better for Edmonton. I think the biggest question going into tomorrow is 2 things. You've been saying it. Can Dallas get off to a hot start tomorrow? And can the Oilers' defensive game continue to just grind guys down offensively and not allow them to get anything going? So yeah, game 4 feels like it's going to be a bit of a pinnacle.
For sure. And I want to give credit really quickly to Darnell Nurse, because I know last year he had a really tough year last year, defensively, and he was criticized a lot. I feel like he has redeemed himself a lot in these playoffs. I know he hasn't gotten a lot of points. He has 2 goals on 5 points overall in the playoffs. He does have 2 assists in the series. I just checked. But I think overall, I think he's been really solid defensively, as is the entire back end for Edmonton. And I think that's the biggest difference that we're seeing from last year to this year, is that they are a better defensive structured team. I don't know what change they necessarily made. I don't know if it was a coaching staff or a mentality. I don't know. But, again, I agree. Like, if those 2 things keep happening, where Dallas doesn't start off well and the defense of Edmonton keeps grinding them out, this series is going to end very quickly.
Speaking of series that could end very quickly,
I have so much to say about this.
I will absolutely let you lead this off, because I have no idea what direction I want to take this in. So
I'll take
Florida has been. I'll set you up here. Florida has been absolutely dismantling the Carolina Hurricanes in every shape or fashion. Apparently, the Hurricanes are excited for the opportunity to try to extend it tonight going into game 4 here in Florida. Florida, you mentioned it beforehand, we jumped on, without Sam Reinhart, without Nico Mikkola, and somebody else?
AJ Greer.
AJ Greer, thank you.
So 2/3 of their bottom 6, which has been, really good in these playoffs. 2/3 of their fourth line in the bottom 6 are out.
Done.
Jesper Boquist, who had a disgusting goal, is actually really once again on the top line, filling in for Sam Reinhart,
and it's worked.
And
it's nice.
Scores again,
and I guarantee you, if the series was like 2-1 Carolina or something like that, Reinhart and those guys would be playing. Like you bet they would be playing. Right?
I definitely can see. I can see how Florida maybe is okay with maybe not winning tonight, but I still think that Maurice would probably want to get this done sooner rather than later, especially because you'd still get an opportunity to have some days off, because you're guaranteed to have a game 5 in Dallas and Edmonton. And if Dallas wins tonight, tomorrow, and Florida wins tonight, you're guaranteed to have even more days off.
You're delaying the inevitable.
You're
right?
delaying. Sure, exactly.
So I'll let you, I don't have a lot, I'm sure I will have some. I know I'll have some things to say. I'll let you go. But the only thing I'll say, and you mentioned the games here, is that for some weird reason, if Carolina can stave off elimination tonight, I've got a sneaky feeling we're going to go 6 games, because I just refuse to believe that they go at home again. And it's been 15 years since they've won a conference game, for God's sakes. Like, I just refuse to believe that this is the way they're going to go out again.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
listen, it's been all Florida. Like, we knew it, that Carolina's test in these playoffs, was this, and they've failed on all levels, because they essentially had a bye in the first round. Sorry, Neil. And Washington, frankly, it was a Cinderella story in which, their luck just kind of ran out almost. But give credit to Carolina for being good at home, which they should be doing good at, except they were terrible in the first 2 games, and obviously more brutal in game 3. So, Neil, take it away.
So, again, Kyle brings up a lot of good points. I think it's fair to say, through 3 games, the Hurricanes are proving to be arguably the most overrated team in these playoffs. And yes, I know that Toronto just got knocked out.
Man, those fans got to be pissed, though, in Toronto.
But you know what? Let's put it this way, guys. At least Toronto has won a game against Florida in these playoffs. As a matter of fact, they've won 3 times against Florida. And I think what we're looking at is a situation where the Hurricanes have done a lot of the same things over the years and have not made the big enough change to turn things around. So what I mean by that is this. Their core has pretty much been the same in the last couple of years that they have been in the playoffs, and those guys are not getting it done. Where is Sebastian Aho? Where is Seth Jarvis? I don't care that Jarvis scored a goal. It was already 6-1 by that time that he scored. Where is Svechnikov?
Well, I think it was 2-1 at the time when
No,
they made it 2-1. Or are you talking game one?
I'm talking game 3.
Oh,
it was 6-1 and Jarvis scored.
Oh, sorry, 6-2. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
you're
Sorry,
fine.
go ahead.
You're fine.
Yeah.
I should have been more clear about that.
You're good.
But here's what it exposes, right? They've had a pretty easy time up until this point getting to the conference finals. And I will be the first one to say that since covering the Devils. Yeah, you're right. It was a bye because the Devils, half their damn team was on the injured list. And it pisses me off because I'm thinking to myself, if the Devils were at full strength, would that series have been different? I can make an argument that maybe it would have been. Because I told you the difference in that series for the Devils that could have helped them was goaltending. And I don't think Markstrom played poorly at all in that first round. But that's besides the point. It's neither here nor there. Second round, you're facing an 8,000-year-old Washington Capitals team. Let's be honest. Their majority of their core is in their mid to late 30s. It's not like that they are spring chickens. And I don't expect them to be as good as they were this year next year. I just don't. Because again, we were showing it, Kyle, analytically speaking, they shouldn't have been as good as they were. It just shouldn't have happened. And so I think at some point, we all hope, at some point, the Capitals are not going to be that unbelievably good all the damn time.
They took advantage of a lot of regular season games in which they were in games they were supposed to win, and they ended up shelling their opponent. And I think it got exposed in the playoffs because that type of play doesn't get shown in the regular season.
100%. And now you go into the conference finals, you have home ice again, just like you did 2 years ago. And 2 years ago, they lost every game that they lost was close. This time around, they look like they have no business at all being in this round. It's almost like we wish that the Leafs-Panthers series was the conference finals because that would have been a great conference finals if it still went 7. The Hurricanes lack scoring. They lack, I'm gonna call them out. They lack depth scoring. There's nobody stepping up other than Logan Stankoven, who hasn't been there long enough to get thrown around, that is scoring. Who are they at? Jason Blake?
Jackson Blake, yeah.
Jackson Blake. I don't know why I keep saying I'm thinking of
Jason Blake from the New York Islanders and the Toronto.
I'm thinking of Jason Blake, who ironically, I think doesn't Blake wear 55 for the Hurricanes?
Yeah, 53 for the Hurricanes. 53.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I stand corrected. I stand corrected though. But the point I'm trying to make is this. They are facing a team that will beat you in a multitude of different ways. The Hurricanes have one way of beating you, and that is in their structured defensive system. They have gotten absolutely exposed for their lack of scoring, and it's shown. And when they're goaltending, which I knew at some point, Kyle, I want to pat myself on the back for this because I said to you numerous times, has Freddie Anderson been tested up until the conference finals? The answer, honestly, is no. He hasn't really.
2 games in the last series, I would argue.
2 games. 2 out of the first 10 games that they played.
Because the Devils didn't really get a lot of shots on goal.
And again, I gave a lot of credit to the Hurricanes' defensive system for that. But now they're facing a team that can overwhelm them with shots. And Freddie Anderson and also Kochetkov as well are just not prepared for it. And there are times where it's not their fault. There's other times where it's probably should have had that one. But it's neither here nor there. The biggest thing I'm looking at is this. If the Hurricanes go out tonight and get swept, this is a controversial take to many, but I think Rob Brind'Amour has to go.
I would agree. I think his job's on the line. Yep.
What else have the Hurricanes done that has not changed? And again, the old saying goes, Kyle, can't fire the players. You can certainly fire the coach. And we know that NHL coaches have a short shelf life, on, in this league. And don't get me wrong, he'll have teams that want to hire him. I don't doubt that in the slightest.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just whatever he's doing it's just not working. And also, I don't think the players on this team are, I think they just are getting overwhelmed and they have no way of responding to it. And they're just getting bullied. This series is not even close. What makes me believe that they're going to come even close to winning tonight? I'm worried that they're going to get blown out again.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter who's in net. And it's not even about they don't get off to a good start. They frankly just can't finish. And when they can't finish and Bobrovsky's just dialed in, you're done. You're absolutely done. And I will be honest in saying that if the Hurricanes do get swept, it's not just the coach that needs to go. I think you got to start thinking about some serious changes to that roster, because what else have you done that you haven't tried yet? And this GM has already proven it's a ballsy guy. He makes ballsy moves. There's nothing stopping him from doing it now. And so, the biggest thing I want to see from Carolina tonight, Kyle, is show some damn pride. You can't go out with a whimper like this. You can't go out like that, because then I want to ask Rob Brindamore. So this time around, did you get swept? Or again, is it one of those things where like you didn't really get swept because you were in every – no. You got your ass handed to you by a much better team, and you got exposed for the way you play.
And it's funny how the format, ever since Gary Bettman changed it, it really exposes teams out of their own division, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it speaks volumes to how bad the Metro really is. And it really was terrible this year, you know?
That was pretty bad.
It's honestly, looking at the way this is going down, right? I don't think this is a good look for Gary Bettman and the way they have this structured, because we've all been clamoring for it. It's a terrible structure.
We got to go back to the old system.
You have that's what I mean. Like, you want to make your, but the stupid thing is like they're making their dollars and cents in the first round of the playoffs, right? That's why it was like Dallas and Colorado was so like, how many times did we say we were so excited about the matchups in the first round? It just speaks volumes that, teams just are getting, and mind you, it's two teams off the final. I get it, but you can just tell that the teams that have been there before and the teams that haven't, and also, but just more importantly, the fact that this Metro division was just garbage this year. Everything about it, top to bottom, was just not great and not playoff caliber ready.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me out of all this, is not even Carolina not winning a game so far in the last 15 years. It's awful. Right. And Connor mentioned it's pathetic. It is pathetic. Right. You make it seem like, Carolina, like everybody had them as like cup favorites, blah, blah, blah. Right. And it's like the whole test for them was going to be right now. Like it was this series. Right? We know you can get to this point. With or without Mikko Rantanen, we knew that they were going to be able to get to this point. But this was your test. It didn't matter who came out of the Atlantic. Because in my opinion, if Tampa got out of, like, think about this. I think Toronto easily takes care of Carolina here.
I do.
And I would argue that Tampa Bay, had they found their way to the conference final,
oh God,
they would have probably made it to the cup final too. Yes. I think any of those teams in that Atlantic bracket, if they found their way to the conference final, they would have got through to the final.
Yeah, and again, like I said, and I'm being biased from the team that I cover, but I still believe, honestly, that if the Devils were at full strength going into that first round against Carolina, I don't believe that the Devils would have had as many issues as they ended up having. I think they would have played, and I think they would have given Carolina a lot of problems. And I said it before, if they had not blown Game 5 after being up 3-0 and that went back to Game 6, I think there's a good shot it would have gone 7. And who knows what would have happened in Game 7, because the Devils would have been the first team to get to win a game in Carolina. But again, all this is neither here nor there. One thing I did want to bring up really quick, Kyle, if you don't mind, you talked about the NHL getting its money through the first round. I don't know if you saw this, but this came from the Nielsen ratings. Are you familiar with the Nielsen rating? Yep. Yeah, you are. Okay. So through the first 2 rounds of these playoffs, games on ESPN platforms are down an astounding 28% compared to last year, averaging only 886,000 views per broadcast, while games on TNT are down 19% from last year, averaging 882,000 viewers per broadcast. And the reason that I think that's the case is going back to what you're saying. The playoffs bracket system that we have right now does not work.
It's flawed.
Because
Yeah.
you are forcing everybody to be amped up and excited in the first round. And then as we get further along in the playoffs, we're having more blowouts. We're having more mismatches. And I'm not trying to fault the teams because all they can do is just play the teams that they're playing. But I also think it's not a good look on the NHL when 3 of the 4 teams that are in these playoffs are in small markets.
Yeah.
And non-hockey markets of that. So you have Florida, you have Dallas, you have Carolina, and you have Edmonton. And the biggest of those 4 markets, in my opinion, from a hockey standpoint, has got to be Edmonton, who plays in a small city anyway.
I would argue Carolina's right there.
Okay, fair.
I would argue they're there. Yeah, for sure. But again, it goes it goes back to it being that it's flawed. The whole system, it's completely flawed. You still get, in my opinion, at the end of the day, the right winners, right? The guys who clearly deserve to get their way through, right? Florida is going to deservingly get to the Cup final because they are strategically built for the playoffs. This is and we knew it. I knew it all along, even in January, February, March, and April when they were banged up and injured. And I said, guys, it doesn't matter. They are a playoff team. They are getting ready for the playoffs. You know, they're going to lose some bad games. Yeah, but they're going to win the necessary amount to get in, right?
Yep.
And I think that's maybe it's funny. It's a good recipe for teams, though, going forward who want to build that culture, right? That the notion if you get in, you get in. St. Louis could have made a run of Dallas's money had they survived for 1 second in the first round.
0.7. If they had lasted another 0.7 seconds, they would have.
Last thing I'll bring up. You mentioned Rod Brind'Amour and his job being on the line. It's very rare that you get teams this far, this deep, and we talked about it with Pete DeBoer, and you're talking about it here with Rod Brind'Amour. I'm getting the same vibes from Carolina as I normally would from Toronto, where your core guys who are supposedly supposed to be the engine for this team are supposed to at least keep you in a game in the playoffs here, right?
Yep.
It's not going to be a winner all the time, but they're going to keep you in it, right?
Yeah.
With Rod, he's just had so many kicks. At some point, you've had so many kicks at the can, and you get to this stage, and it's the fact that you haven't even won a game, right? So as much
he was still a player the last time they won a conference game,
and he scored the game winner.
They're 0-15 in their last 15 conference targets. And guess what? Rob Brind'Amour's been the coach for several of those.
I would argue, though, the only thing I'm going to argue that is I with this team, it's not the coach. I think he's going to be there's so many times and so many occasions where you can fire, like you just said, you can't fire the players, but you can fire a coach. I think Brind'Amour is going to be a scapegoat here again.
Yes.
When they go out, right?
Yep.
Because I don't see them coming back against, not against, you can't beat Florida 4 times in a row.
No.
Not this team. Not the way that it's constructed. There's no way. You might get a game or 2, but that's probably about it. So I think he's a scapegoat. I just think that the guys that are getting paid the big bucks here on this team, the Ahos of the world, the Jarvises, the Svechnikovs of the world.
Yep.
It's not doing it, man. But with Florida, I think the most fascinating thing about it is the fact that it's really not even their top guys. That fucking third line in Brad Marchand, Luosterainen, and Lundell. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, they've been unreal. That's why we knew, when Marchand got traded to Florida, how many of us kind of sat there and go, fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Here they come.
Oh, God damn it.
And then sometimes it's all it takes, and it's all credit. Honestly, though, I got to give Bill Zito so much love.
There's a ballsy GM right there.
He is a ballsy GM that started all the way back with Matthew Tkachuk. I mean, he only had a 5-team pick, so I mean, it was 1 of 5 chance to get him, and seemed to get better and better. But it all started there, and
It did.
it really built the foundation of that team. And
Yeah.
I don't see them going anywhere next year either.
He made the move to trade Uyghur and Huberto to Calgary.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that we have to bring that up, but it's important just from
Been
Bill
happy
Zito.
with Uyghur.
Oh
Been
yeah,
happy with Uyghur. Yep.
there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with Uyghur. I think you look at it and it shook a lot of people up because it was like, wow, like Florida's making a statement because they were tired of getting their ass kicked by Tampa.
Yep.
And they got
They
beyond
made a
that.
statement.
They got to the finals, didn't get it done, got back to it last year, found a way, got it done. This team looks like a team that could win in 4 or 5 games in the finals if things go their way. It's just been that dominant. And for Bill Zito at the very last minute to make a deal for Brad Marchand, knowing, who he is and everything like that, it is phenomenal. And you got to give him a lot of credit. I just want to go quickly back to Rod Brindamore one more time before we move on to the next thing. Rod Brindamore has been the coach of the Hurricanes since the 2018-19 season. That's when he started.
Yep.
In that time, it has been lost in the conference finals, lost in the first round, lost the second round, lost the second round, lost conference finals, lost the second round, and now are currently in the conference finals again. That was after they went almost a decade without making the playoffs. So you give Rod Brindamore credit in the sense of, from a consistency standpoint, he's been tremendous because he's gotten them into the playoffs and several times deep into the playoffs. I'm not saying that Rod Brindamore deserves to be fired. What I'm saying is that what change that you haven't made can you do? Because I just don't see a world, Kyle, where Carolina could look at this and be like, we just got to keep what we have and try it again next year, because you're going to end up like the Maple Leafs. You will continue to end up like them because it's the same thing, doing the exact same thing over and over again, knowing that result is not going to change.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing here. And so it's going to start with tonight. You got to, if you're going to go out tonight, go out with some pride. If not,
I don't even think it matters.
It may not matter. It may honestly, if you're the owner of the Hurricanes, you got to be a little bit pissed off that
for sure,
the team is getting absolutely hammered in the conference finals. It's just, and I don't care who they're playing. If you show up like this against anybody in the playoffs, that's a bad look. So it's do or die until moving forward.
It ain't over until the fat lady sings.
And
as the old mantra.
we say the saying, you're not in trouble until you lose at home. Well, they're already in massive trouble, and they've lost twice at home.
And the Stars in the other series lost at home, and they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Yeah. All right. We'll come back with more world news stuff as well. We'll give you some Flames news as well too, prospect news and all that fun stuff. But we'll take a little bit of a break, and we'll see you on the other side. It's officially the best time of year for hoop and hockey fans. Playoff drama, buzzer beaters, all the chaos we live for. And if you're done just watching and ready to actually win some cash, you got to check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit Pick 6, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. It's super simple. Select your picks, track your scoring, go for those big time prizes. No gimmicks, just straight up fun. Pick 6 is live in most states like Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and plenty more. So yeah, don't settle for weekly payouts. Make your picks with Pick 6 and let your basketball and hockey brain pay off. New to DraftKings Pick 6, new customers lose just $5 on your first entry, and you'll get $50 in bonus picks instantly. The playoffs are on, folks, so why not take a shot at making a little bit more money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN to play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks. Better payouts, bigger wins. It's only on Pick 6 on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE. 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Okay.
Did you see, by the way, have you seen just random, like what the 2026 free agency class looks like?
You know what's funny is I saw that this morning. I'm looking at it
right now, and my God, is it fascinating? Because you look at this year, it's kind of like it's like like I don't think this free agency class is that good, quite frankly. I think a lot of teams should be careful with how they approach free agency.
Sure.
But if you look at it, like here are the names that come up, right? You have Connor McDavid right away. So that's going to, you have Jack.
Well, don't forget, he can, it's important to watch this offseason because he can extend.
I wonder if he doesn't win the cup, right? Let's say they get to the finals and they lose. Does he keep his options open?
You'll learn right away, but I'm leaning more towards that he's not going anywhere.
If he screams like a lifer in Edmonton kind of guy, I don't see him moving. But you have David, Jack Eichel, Kyle Connor, Kirill Kaprizov, Artemi Panarin. Granted, it's Alex Ovechkin, Bobrovsky, Jacob Markstrom, Andrei Kopitar, Martin Necas. Now, granted, a bunch of those guys in the next 12 months could get locked up to different extensions, this, that, and the other thing. I will say from just Jacob Markstrom's perspective, I think there's a 99.9% chance he's going to get extended, and it's probably going to be this offseason just based off of what I've been told. I can't speak for anyone else on this list other than saying McDavid. I just think it's highly unlikely that McDavid moves. I just saw that just now, and I'm like, damn, that's a fascinating list.
But it's important to watch it in this free agency because you wonder what guys can extend right away. Who will extend right away, right? And then it's also, I'm finding the RFA list way more fascinating than I do the UFA
this year in particular, 100%. Yeah. I'm going to say we're going to get 7 or 8 guys that get offer sheeted. That's going to be my guess.
Give me the chaos. I love it.
do the Flames offer sheet Matthew Nyes for the fun of it?
I think he's going to be too much money. One name that I keep hearing, though, and they're not sure if they're going to be able to re-sign because of other guys' commitments that they have to sign first, is Marco Rossi.
Oh, that name keeps coming up like it's great. And apparently,
I hear it a lot. I've read, Kyle,
they're not even close in terms of that. In terms of and it sucks because I'm thinking like, didn't Minnesota finally get off those like 2 atrocious contracts? And now it's like, and you're still in a financial bind, like. That looks bad on Billy Guerin, if you ask me. And
it is.
I think Marco Rossi is a guy. And look, the dude was playing on the 4th line. And I'm like, he shouldn't be. So he's going to be a very interesting guy to get. And I think he will. I think there's a very likely chance.
Oh, yeah. Guys will. I think there will be a team to overpay. And I don't think Minnesota would be like, well, we're going to take these picks and go, right? I don't know. There's other guys that you see there. I just caution, like it was at 4.6 million is at the cap of like not giving a first round pick. So I see the guys on the RFA list and I go, man, like I don't think you can get guys under 4.6 for the caliber of the players that are at the RFA list. So
and with the salary cap going up, I think that's just such an important thing because agents are going to be salivating at the fact that they can definitely get teams to massively overpay for their clients in years like instead of like in previous years where it wasn't as easy to do it. And I think I'll give the Blues a lot of credit. They began that trend. By just doing what they did. And it worked because I think both Holloway and I'm forgetting the other name. Broberg have fit in seamlessly in St. Louis. So like
it helps that Jim Montgomery's their coach too, who's a fantastic coach.
I think we'll see the Blues back in it again. I think that they're gonna try to figure something out. I don't know.
I think we'll see some changes next year to the playoffs. I think some teams that you'll be surprised by, I would say. That's kind of when it'll start, right? So quick tidbits. Tonight, you might have saw it when we had it up on the display there, but Anderson's going to be back in net tonight for Carolina. It was just announced that Connor Brown is out of the lineup tomorrow night for the Oilers in Game 4. He will be sidelined tomorrow night.
I think I do remember him. I think he was hurt.
He did take a hit from Alex Petrovich in the last game, so
Right.
he didn't come back, and apparently he is going to be sidelined for Game 4.
Sure.
So no Connor Brown in Game 4 for the Oilers. Again, they're still saying this was 3 hours ago that Reinhart, Mikkola, and Greer are day-to-day. Again, Neil mentioned at the beginning where they're all going to be out. And the latest we really have on other NHL news was the fact that Brendan Shanahan's gone in Toronto, and Matthew Darsh is the new GM in New York. So the dominoes are starting to fall in Leafland.
I'm yeah, right, exactly. I thought when Shanahan was let go, I thought he was immediately going to be the Islanders' new GM. I thought that that's exactly what the Islanders were going to do, but they apparently like Darsh a lot more. I don't know. I don't know if Shanahan will find another team. Maybe he will, but I just don't see him at the level that he was at. I can see him being, I could see teams wanting to bring him in as maybe an assistant GM, but
not to the level of what he was at.
But the question is, would Shanahan take a quote unquote lesser role and being second in command to someone who, is the one that's really
the stupid thing is it's like he's a former player, right? And sometimes former players, it doesn't work out in a lot of these roles. It's like
doesn't work out as a GM, doesn't work out as a coach. Wayne Gretzky sucked as a head coach.
I mean, you look at Paul, but also too, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Like a lot of the players have become coaches. Not a lot of recent players within the within the era of the 2000s go on to be pretty. I mean, give Martin St. Louis credit, give Rod Brundamore credit, and I'll give a little bit of credit to Shanahan. So sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I think it's just more of a systematic thing. But last thing I wanted to bring up was congrats to Team USA for winning the IIHF World Championships. They took down Switzerland in overtime, as it was Tage Thompson who gets the overtime goal. I have my thoughts on the whole tournament, but Neil, US wins gold for the first time since 1933.
Yes, 92
years.
92 years since the last time they won it. Yeah, I mean, it was a great game. It was really competitive. I think both of those teams deserve to be there for the way that they played throughout the tournament. I think for Switzerland, not having Nico Hischier in the lineup was, I think to an extent, was not great. I mean, granted, they got that far without him after he got hurt a couple of games ago, but I think they would have liked to have had him in the lineup. But nonetheless, I think that they played as well as they could have. It sucked. You could see it on the faces of Switzerland, knowing that they were on the verge of potentially winning their first ever gold medal in any tournament. And I think that this just gives them extra motivation going into the Olympics. I think they've proven, Kyle, honestly, I think they've proven that this is a hockey country on the rise with, granted, they don't have a boatload of NHL talent, but they have a decent amount of guys that will play, who played in this tournament and will very likely play in the Olympics. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that all goes down once we get closer to the Olympics. But I was very critical, honestly, Kyle, I was very critical of this United States team in the, in the round robin, part of this tournament. And just that, they didn't always look all that good. I felt like at times that they were not playing tremendously well. I felt like they were getting down. I mean, look, they got dominated by Switzerland. They got shut out by Switzerland early in this tournament. But you know what? They kicked it into high gear a couple of games ago, and they went into the elimination rounds, and they just played so well. They dominated the host country, Sweden. I mean, they dominated them right from the beginning. And give Tage Thompson a lot of credit. I think he proved a lot of people that he should have been on that USA team in the Four Nations. And I think now the United States has to highly consider him for the Olympic team going into next year, because I think that he is a guy that can do a lot of damage. And Jeremy Swayman, after the game, who had a great game in his own right, between the pipes for USA, said, we wanted to show that this is a new era of United States hockey, that we are one of those teams that is ready to compete consistently for gold medals in any tournament. And we are so excited. We wanted to get off to a good start preparing for the Olympics. And I think they showed that here in this tournament. And it makes it that much more exciting for American fans, knowing that the majority of the guys that were on that Four Nations team didn't play in this tournament, and they won. And that's huge. So we'll see. We'll see, but it was awesome. So congrats to the boys here in red, white, and blue that got it done. And hopefully that gives them momentum going into the Olympics next year.
Full credit to them. They were clearly more prepared for the knockout
Shout
round.
Out Denmark.
Shout out Denmark. I was so happy. I was so happy that they won, though. And
yeah,
in a funny way, I was really happy about it because I'm like, great, this is bringing up more levels of competition all around now. Like, you need that, right? So thank God for that.
And I'm so glad, by the way, that Slovenia, qualified to still be in the top level for next year. Yeah, thank God. Because I hope that I get to see Kopitar again in a Slovenian jersey.
You might get another look next year. Yep.
Are they in the Olympics? I don't remember if they are.
I'd have to look. I'm not sure.
I don't remember.
I have no idea.
Anyway.
I'll just take it I'm going to take it a different approach on this, though. I'm not taking any credit away from the US, from Switzerland, from Sweden, Denmark, everybody, right? I'm not taking credit away from anybody in this tournament.
Who are you taking credit away from?
From the IIHF themselves.
Okay.
There needs to be a rule that needs to change for guys who can all of a sudden magically show up right before the knockout round. The thing that pissed me off the most, and it didn't even, honestly, for Sweden, I'll just use them as an example because it's the only one I can think of right now. But it didn't matter at the end of the day because the US ended up, they won, right? But the Leafs get eliminated on the Sunday, right?
Yeah.
The day after, they do locker clean out. Nylander decides he's going to fly over to Sweden and he's going to play Thursday in the knockout round. Yeah. Fuck you. Fuck you. You just basically tell another guy in the lineup, hey, by the way, you played the whole round robin for us for 7 games. William Nylander's coming in, so thanks for everything. Get out.
Yeah, I mean,
I fucking hate it. I hate it.
Steelers came right after Game 6 and flew to Sweden to play for Denmark.
I'm not even mad. I'm not even mad at Denmark. Like, it was good on them, but it makes a difference. When Ehlers shouldn't have been, I'm sorry, Ehlers or Nylander should not have been allowed to show up for the tournament.
I agree.
You're fucking halfway through the tournament. You can't just magically have NHL players all of a sudden start showing up. Yeah. It's like, no, listen, you should be having alternates on this team. And frankly, it can't come from guys who are in the playoffs because we don't know when it's going to end.
It's got to be guys that their season's been done.
That's the only way. And that was the only reason why McKinnon and Crosby were able to go. And I think because it started after the first round of the playoffs, I think.
Yeah. They had first round, 3 or 4 days to get there and be with
fair enough. Team. After the
right,
before
and that was
the tournament has began,
yeah.
I'm fine with that. That's before the tournament starts. I get it. But after that, you need to have it finalized and you need to have, 3 to 4 alternates who can be there just in case there's an injury, right? I'm sorry. You can't, to me, it's bullshit how that happens, right? At least thank God for the Olympics, they won't allow that. It just reiterates for me how much I don't give a shit about this tournament because it's to me, it's rigged. It's rigged in the sense that anybody can just show up at any given time and just join the team, right? What would have happened? Go ahead.
I was going to ask, do you wonder that they do this for the sake of you get those star players even later on in the tournament coming to get more eyes to watching the tournament? Or do you think it's just simply
they want to play?
They what?
They just want to play. I don't think it's not for anybody else's satisfaction. It's for them that they just wanted to continue playing.
Right. And look, I think that there are ways that players can keep playing. Beyond obviously their season ending. I get it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. I think it is quite ridiculous that William Nylander 3/4 of the way into the tournament just gets to be on the team. And it's kind of
right.
And look,
why would you allow? I'm surprised you weren't more pissed about that because you had to go up against Sweden in the semis.
Well, we also kicked the ever-living crap.
Fair, but if the chicken went the other way,
yeah, I mean, I didn't really think about it as much until you brought it up. So that's a fair point. I think from the United States perspective, I don't think they had that happen as far as I remember.
I don't recall. I was just bringing up the Nylander one.
I mean, it didn't. It's not like Austin Matthews.
But good on the Americans if that was the case. I'm shocked if that was the case.
Maybe they said no. Maybe there were guys that wanted to play, and the U.S. Federation was like, no. Like, sorry, we're
Let
already
the core
like
play together, and I
starting it.
totally agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with it. And I think what's great about it from that perspective is that you are getting guys that are not playing, maybe not playing as much on their NHL team or maybe even whatever team they play in Europe
Sure.
that are getting much more ice time than they normally would. So, like, what I like about these tournaments personally is I get to learn about players that I've never heard of before.
Me too.
Like, I have no,
Yeah.
like, guys that were on Switzerland that were kicking ass, I'd never heard of before in my life.
Yeah.
Now, Andrew Getta has been an interesting name because I believe he played in the NHL at one point in his career.
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe he did.
he had a phenomenal tournament in his own right. And I'm like, I'm always excited because I like to think about, are there guys that could be available in free agency that are playing overseas that you could be like, what if we give a shot to this guy, kind of thing? And
It's
that's my opinion.
It's a different game,
But it's a
man.
different game.
It
Bigger
is a
ice. Hello.
Yeah. It's a
But
hugely
I
different
do
game.
agree that I think it's stupid that
You might find the rare one player that can make the transition. I think it's really difficult to make that transition over to the NHL because it's
I
such a
think
tighter
Kirill
game.
Kaprizov might be one of the only exceptions to that.
I believe you're right. Yeah.
Do we count Austin Matthews in that regard?
No.
No.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Because
'Cause
he was an American player and he played, I think, the 1 year out in.
Yeah, I'm just
Yeah.
okay.
No,
Fair
I
enough.
don't
Fair
really-
enough. No. I'll give you. That's fair. That's fair. So I think, yeah, I agree. It's dumb that like Willie Nylander gets to have like a bronze medal around his neck after playing.
I
what,
can't.
3
It's
games?
bullshit that he has that. I think
Yeah.
it is bullshit.
I
So
hope whoever
yeah.
replaced. I hope whoever he replaced also got a medal. I imagine they did.
He probably did, but it's just not the same because it's like, well, I played
it's not the
7 of the
same.
games for Sweden,
It's
and
not
all
the
for
same.
William Nylander to come in and just take my spot.
Yeah.
I'd be
Yeah.
pissed. So
Yeah.
that's why, like, I to be frank, thank God you cover it, like, and a lot of other great content creators who cover it. I just can't pay attention to it. I just get so mad whenever I see stuff like that because
I think my attitude is always that it's more hockey. I mean, granted, I've also been watching the PWHL finals, which, by the way, if you haven't watched any of it,
I watched
shame
it.
on you. It has been
watched
a
it.
hell of a series. By the
I've
way,
watched. I was watching Game 3.
that quadruple overtime was amazing.
Yes.
Like that final has been more entertaining than the majority of the Stanley Cup playoff rounds. Like,
Hey, if you want to cover, we should do. We can do Game 4, Game 5.
That's true.
Yeah, we can.
I'll say this: if it gets to a decisive Game 5, I want to do the game.
Deal. Done.
And by the way, I understand that like not everybody has cable, and I get that. But you know what the PWHL does better than any league I've seen?
YouTube.
You watch it on YouTube, and that's totally fine. And like that's great because guess what? I could watch every single team all season long, and not have to be in that area. Like,
you know why though? Like it's
genius.
The numbers have been down, and it's funny. The number.
Also, by the way, they are expanding to Vancouver and Seattle going into next year.
It's funny you bring up like the numbers being down, like on ESPN and TNT, right?
Mm-hmm.
The big portion to that is you're starting to see the shift more. It's happening very slowly, but over the course of years now, you're starting to see it being moved away from cable and more to directly being on these apps. Like for me, I'm not watching a game on ESPN. I'm going through it on Sportsnet, right? And, if I'm able to watch it on YouTube for the PWHL, then great. That's where I'm going to watch it too, right? Because I think people are starting to get sick and tired of the amount that they have to pay for cable in order to watch these games. That's all. So
yeah, and I think streaming in general is just such a big thing now. And I think you're seeing it. I know so many people, Kyle, that have like Fubo TV, which honestly to me is just simply streaming. I'm going to be honest with you, it feels like streaming.
Yeah.
I know like a bunch of people that have YouTube TV, which by the way is actually pretty fascinating to experience because it's basically YouTube, but you also have like television, live TV that you can watch kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways. And like the PWHL, what's great is that it's not like you have to have YouTube Premium to still watch their games. Mm-hmm. No, like you could just simply sit there and watch whichever game you feel like watching and do it. And I think that that's great. And so I think we're getting closer to that and cable just becoming dead in many ways. And I think what you're seeing is like that. I think that's one of the reasons why things are going down.
That's why I don't have cable.
That's right. But I'm not. I don't want to say that. Oh, the NHL should just be like, well, it's not our fault that the games aren't being watched. No, it kind of is because we talked about the playoff format being ass.
Yeah.
And like, oh, we want to have more rivalries. That's why we have teams play each other.
Regional restrictions are always a problem too.
Yep. Who cares?
You got it.
We could be getting different matchups that are interesting.
Yes.
With teams that don't play one another that often. Like,
it's wild. All right. Yeah, so that's going to be it for us today. June next week, which also means we are going to be officially on the clock for the NHL draft, which is right around the corner.
And also free agency. By that time,
it's going to be a wild month.
1 month.
A lot of news. A lot of news can be coming out. So good stuff today, and we'll chat to you all again next week. Have a great rest of your Memorial Day, and see you all next Monday. See you guys.